Peace, beloved brothers and sisters who have arrived here on this channel. Currently, we are at the limit on all the calendars below. The Gregorian calendar, the biblical calendar, and the prophetic calendar. We are reaching the limit here, or the maxed amount of wiggle room we have for the rapture to happen and also for the Jacob's trouble or the tribulation to happen. Before I explain this for you guys, first, if you don't know who I am, my name is Ricardo. I've been doing videos on YouTube for over 7 years, explaining about the end times that we are living, explaining about the rapture of the church that will happen before the tribulation, and I have been showing you signs that leads us towards the moment that we can expect the rapture to happen. And I highly encourage you, if you haven't yet, to watch the previous videos. They are very important for you to realize where we are and how many signs we have been receiving from God all the way until here. And we have been receiving supernatural signs that have been prepared for over 7 years that are simply amazing. So watch out the previous videos on my channel here, that you will see why this is the year of Esther, or the previous year was the year of Esther, why this is so important, why Israel and Iran is so important, why the calendar is very important for us to perceive when is the true biblical feasts, and everything else here is very, very important for you to watch. So watch the English videos here for you to understand where we are right now and why today, right now, we are at the Feast of Tabernacles. The Feast of Tabernacles is one of the most important feasts in the Bible. It's one of the feasts that God will gather together all his people to be with him. And today here, the full moon of this month of November truly is the real Feast of Tabernacles that we are watching right now. So for today, until the next 7 to 8 days, we are under a high watch time frame for tabernacles. But also the Jews today and tomorrow, they are going through what they are calling the day that the flood came, and that's a very important date as well for us to watch. So today and tomorrow, and even to the 19th up to the 20th, is a very important high watch date for us to leave here this earth. So to make sure you understand this, watch my previous video. So I've been showing you guys here this timeline, showing you how 2024 is very rock solid, and we cannot simply get away from this timeline without some major issues with historical events. So for example, the death of Herod the Great, he died or was dethroned, stopped governing Judea on 4 BC, and that's a historical fact. We cannot get away from this without taking away this historical fact. Also, another historical fact here is the Second Temple destruction that took place on 70 AD. Those two dates point for us that Jesus had to be born before his death or his dethroning. So the earliest was on 5 BC, and his death and resurrection should have happened on 30 AD when he was 33 and a half years old. And that matches perfectly because 40 years from this death and resurrection, then the temple destruction took place perfectly on 70 AD. And all of this points us to this timeline being very, very rock solid. So we know that the Lamb has to die on the 4th day, and for God, 1 day is like 1,000 years. The 4th day is a 4th millennium. So Jesus, the Lamb of God, died precisely here at the 4th millennium on 30 AD. So it all matches for us to reach here right now where we are, 2024, the year 5995 already. We just crossed to the year 5995, which means for us that he is going to bring his millennium kingdom at the year 6001 as the true king crowned on Passover, just like he did when he first came here on earth. So we are under this very tight, narrow time frame here for the rapture to happen and also for the Daniel 70 week to take place. And I'm going to show you here in this different calendars that we have. So the first calendar that we have here is the prophetic calendar. And this prophetic calendar changes every Feast of Trumpets. So every Feast of Trumpets, this calendar changes and changes the year since the creation of the world. That's why the Jews, which the number here with the 5 is the Jewish year, but we know that they are wrong in their counting of years. But that's the year that they call for. So the years here changes for the Jews on the Feast of Trumpets. So you can see here, since 2017, that the years changes on the Feast of Trumpets. But the correct counting there we saw based on historical facts. And I'm also going to show you another place where you can confirm this information. But another calendar that we have is the biblical calendar. And the biblical calendar is the prophetic calendar flipped by 6 months, because God flipped the calendars with Moses on Exodus, calling Nisan the first month. So it is a calendar that is flipped from the prophetic calendar for 6 months. So you can see here that the year begins on the month of Nisan, or the month of Abib, which is around April to May for us. Talking about April or May, we live under the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar starts before the biblical calendar because the Pope Gregory assigned that the year begins on what we call January. So we live on the Gregorian calendar, but we take notice on the biblical calendar and we pay attention to the prophetic calendar. Those are the 3 calendars that we live under. And the most important ones are the biblical, of course, and the prophetic calendar. The Gregorian calendar is, I believe, something that the enemy did just to confuse people's mind when is the start of the year and when everything takes place. So the Gregorian calendar, things are faster than we are supposed to be on the biblical calendar and on the prophetic calendar. So I told you that truly the Jewish year is wrong, and the correct dates for the year are this since 2017. So it is the 5987. On the trumpets we changed to 5988 in 2017, and so on. And I have a Jewish information here that also portrays the same thing. So we have here the Karaite Judaism. So the Karaite Judaism, here on Wikipedia, you can read about it. It is a branch from the common Jewish. It is a non-rabbinical Jewish section characterized by the recognition of written Torah as supreme authority. So the Karaites believe that all the divine commandments which were handed down from Moses by God were recorded and written in the Torah without any addition of the oral law or explanation, unlike mainstream Judaism. So the Karaite Judaism is a branch from the Jews, and they have their calendar fixed from the traditional rabbinical Jewish. So we have here the website from one of them showing the true or the new calendar year for the 5995, which we just entered here, and I told you guys we just entered on November. And here they are calling October because they're still following a little bit of tradition, not completely the sun, moon, and stars, but still the year 5995, which we just entered here on the month of Tishrei. And it's very interesting to see that they agree with the historical facts that we have about this. And also they wrote this, I found it interesting to show you guys here. Hodesh is related to the moon. So Hodesh means new moon or the day. The primary meaning of Hodesh month is actually new moon or new moon day. And it is only by extension that it came to mean month. So the biblical new moon is the first crescent. So Hodesh, new moon, is derived from the word Hodesh, meaning new or to make new, renew. The crescent new moon is called Hodesh because it is the first time the moon is seen anew after being concealed for several days at the end of the lunar cycle. So this also explains why the first crescent, seeing the first crescent of the moon is when you call out the first day of that month. Against the full moon that some people on the internet call it the first day of the month. So this also explains that. And they have here some information about them. They follow the Torah, the 5 books of the Bible, strictly instead of just following simply traditional oral commandments from the rabbinical Jewish. So they are also telling us the 5995 time frame. And if we start to look here and start to count since 2017, or since the year after trumpets of 2017, because right there was when the Revelation 12 sign took place, and it was a major sign that basically woke up everybody on the internet talking about the rapture. So starting on that moment and counting the years, we have been going through this 7 years of sign here, which goes all the way until here, the trumpets of 2024. So the trumpets of 2024, which just happened in November 3rd of this year. It just took place, so we just crossed the 7th year of signs, and right now we are just right here at this moment in time. We are right after trumpets, right in the Feast of Tabernacles 2024, in the middle of the biblical calendar of 2024, and at the end of the Gregorian 2024. For everything to be correctly aligned, we need the tribulation or Jacob's trouble to start at most at this time frame here, which is going to be Passover 2025. So it will be here on the biblical calendar. We will cross 2024 to 2025, and we will be here around May 2025 on the Gregorian calendar, and that's going to be Passover. On Passover 2025, it is the most amount of time, or the least amount of time that we have left for Jacob's trouble to begin. And I showed you guys here in the previous 2 videos on my channel. So this area here between today and Passover 2025 is a gray area there, that if the rapture does not take place right now, 6 months before the Passover, then we should expect any time between today and there, because we have this wiggle room here left for everything to take place. But at the red dot here, the red line, that's when Jacob's trouble must begin. And why does that need to begin? Because if we start to count this year here from trumpets 2024, 7 more years, we have this here. So counting here, we have the 3.5 years. So 3.5 years leads us here to Passover 2028 here, which will be when the Jews must flee Judea, must flee Israel, because that's when they make 80 years old. They are 80 years old since their independence. Very important time frame here. But also going further a little bit, we reach here trumpets 2030 on the prophetic calendar. It's going to be when we change from the year 6000 to the year 6001. So trumpets 2031, that's when we are going to change to 6002. So on 6001, that's when we must end the tribulation and begin Christ's first year of his millennium kingdom, and has got to be here on Passover for him to close the gap since his previous Passover here on earth that they mocked him. So he's going to be crowned on Passover, and that's going to be around April or May 2031 in the Gregorian calendar, right in the beginning of the biblical calendar of 2031, which does make sense, and right here at the middle of the 7th year since the prophetic calendar, which is going to be Passover here. So this implies that 6 months before this, that's when he's going to fulfill the fall feast, which is exactly here at the yellow line, trumpets 2030. That's when he fulfilled the trumpets, destroying the army of the Antichrist with his shout. Then he fulfills atonement, tabernacles, and then he keeps on fulfilling Hanukkah up to Purim, and then Passover here. And all of this time frame between fall feast 2030 up to Passover 2031, that's when we were going to prepare the earth to God for him to start his millennium kingdom. So you see here that we are just at the threshold here. There isn't much wiggle room for us to leave and for the tribulation to begin, because if we miss those dates here that I showed on the previous slide, if we miss this time frame here and we cross Passover and we are going to the end of the 2025 year, then that implies we're going to be left with less than 7 years for the tribulation, or we're going to skip over 1 year up to 2032, and that does not make sense, because then he's going to start his millennium kingdom on 6002, which is weird, or that would imply that all of these historical facts are wrong by a year or two, and would make us very, very confused. So if everything is correct, if the historical facts are correct, if the signs in the skies are correct, if the timeline from Jesus since his death and resurrection is correct, and if the 6,000 millennium is correct, then the time frame that we have is right now. We can expect right now for the rapture to happen up to the fall feast here, by the end of the fall feast. So I would say at most the fall feast ends on November 26th. That's Shemini Atzeret. That's the last day, or the 8th great day of Tabernacles on the true calendar here. So up to November 26th. If not, we cross this yellow line, then we enter a gray zone that we won't know for sure when it could happen, but up to April the 1st, as I spoke in my previous video as well, that's the most amount of time that we can have to wait, because Jacob's trouble must happen by Passover 2025, and that to lead us at Passover on 2031. So you can see here on the calendars that even on all calendars we are on the threshold. We are at the limit, and we don't have much wiggle room to be raptured and also for the tribulation to begin, unless many errors on calendars, many errors on historical facts, and even celestial events that we saw from the previous 7 years are pointing to something else. So just to make sure you see this here, this is the chart that I always bring forth here on this channel. We are right here going to the Feast of Tabernacles, which is the last feast of the last major feast of God here, and then after that we enter the winter time frame, which is very unlikely for God to rapture us unless he raptures us at the month of Adar, the month of Pisces, which is when Purim happens, and the Jews will call this Passover because they are 1 month ahead of us. So through Purim, the 12th month, the month of Pisces, the sun is going to be in Pisces. The Jews will call this Passover, but that's truly Purim. That's the farthest we can go before another cycle begins. And we are right here at the last possible moment for this to happen. So right now we have our hopes up because we are seeing this threshold, we're seeing this limit, and this is most likely it. If everything is correct, if everything is all right, then most likely we're going to be leaving very, very soon. Otherwise, we're going to have to wait to see what God do here in this world. Other than that, I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Before that, I'm going to give you guys some updates here from my family, which some of you expect to see, and I like to see this also. So the little boy Haziel, which you guys are seeing here, he is already starting to create phrases here. Very interesting. So I have a little video of him just playing around. So we don't understand him too much, just a little bit, but he's trying to create phrases, and that's very interesting, a phase in his life that it is different, because it's like seeing someone start to talk, and that's very interesting. And the little girl, Ava, she is starting to taste food for the first time, and I would love for you guys to see this, because it is simply amazing. So check it out. So that was the first time she experienced a banana, and everything that she tries to eat for the first time, she does this. She makes her this face, and it's also something that we haven't been experienced too much lately. So this is just a form that I can say thank you to all of you brothers and sisters who have assisted us here supporting this ministry. I pray that God multiply all that has been given and bring the perfect peace to the life of everyone who showed us love. You have helped change our lives and also the lives of other brothers and sisters that we were able to help here in Brazil. And if you want to be part of this, the links are in the description box below. I'm very grateful for everybody that provided here, that helped here, because you're doing something amazing here for God and for all of those that we are able also to help. And I'm very hopeful that we're going to be leaving here very soon. This is very rock solid. We're seeing also the beginning of attention in Europe lately. I just received some news that I believe the US allowed Ukraine to attack with missiles Russia and also Europe as well. I have to confirm this information here. But apparently, let me just Google it. So, US allow Ukraine to use missiles. Let's see with that. So today, Biden allows Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range missiles. I hate New York Times, man. So let's go to Reuters. So here, Biden allows Ukraine to use U.S. arms to strike inside Russia. If I'm not mistaken, Putin, the Russia's president, he said that if this happens, then he will consider that NATO is with war with Russia. So this here could be a major thing that will lead us to this sudden destruction that we are expecting. We're expecting the sudden destruction to take place as we leave this earth on the rapture. And I know that Trump winning the presidency brought forth some peace talks, so this safety and peace and security to the world. Many places were talking about peace, but then it was too easy. I thought it was too easy for him to win, even though it seemed not, but it was too easy. But I guess they were planning something before his taking the office on January, so that could be it. So they were planning to start a war, a major war. So in this form, the U.S. will be on a war threat, on an emergency situation. I believe he will not take office if this happens, and then this is a gimmick that they can pull out in order to prevent Trump to enter. And this here is major. If Russia sees this as a threat from NATO, this could lead us to the sudden destruction that we have been expecting to take place right after the rapture. And this could escalate very quickly. So pay attention to this and also have your hopes up, because we might be leaving very, very soon due to all this that is taking place right now. And I hope to see you guys very, very shortly, hopefully in the skies today or tomorrow, the day that the Jews are calling the date of the flood. So they're calling the date of the flood today or tomorrow. Let me just confirm here. It's tomorrow. Up to tomorrow, they are calling the day of the flood. But truly, if the first day of the month was on the 3rd of November, the 10th day of the month will be the 13th of November, and the 17th day of the month will be the 20th of November. So truly, if they were to be correct and call the first crescent moon instead of the dark moon as new moon, truly they would call November the 20th the day that the Great Flood began. But they are calling November 18th, and okay, that's all right. So we are watching today, tomorrow, and also the next couple days up to November 26th for being the moment that we can escape this earth while the earth gets the sudden destruction. Amen. Maranatha, I hope that you're blessed by this video. I hope that we're all ready to meet in the air very soon. And I hope that Jesus Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, brings the perfect peace to all of you guys watching here and being with us through all this time here since we started doing videos in English. Amen. Maranatha, may God bless each and every one of you. Maranatha.